everybody, welcome to Gypsy Jazz Boot Camp Minor Key Soloing Workshop number 2. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Gypsy Jazz Boot Camp Workshop number 2 for minor key soloing ideas. Lots of good stuff to discuss. I always like to start off with any questions that you may have. Welcome everybody. I'm sure there's some questions now that you've had a week to think about some things or try it out, digest the ideas. The first workshop was mainly about triads, targeting, embellishments around that, and then trying to apply it to the songs that I was recommending. I do have a lot of reinforcement PDFs and etudes on these particular topics. I treat Jangology in a particular way, and I'm not going to assume that everybody already knows Jangology, but I have a little route, a little substitution trick that I always do, and just to kind of give you a quick little preview of it. It would be like, I think of it as A major. This is a triad method as applied to Jangology. If you all know this, I think of this. That's the first 8 bars that everybody really works hard on soloing, because it switches chords every measure, which in a lot of songs in gypsy jazz swing style, it's 2 measures, sometimes even 4 measures. So when you have a chord change where you have to navigate every measure, it gets a little bit tricky. But here's my little quick hack for Jangology is I start off with A major, then I diminish it. Then I move it down, G major, then I diminish it. And that follows the changes. Then I go to A minor, then I diminish it, and then I go to major. And so then you could go. So I'm going A major, A diminished. And this is a big part of what I'm talking about for this class too. Today especially, we're going to talk about some strategies, especially some substitutions. Last time was more just face value. You see A minor, you play A minor. You see D minor, you play D minor. You see E7, you play E major. But today, again, I'm going to start to incorporate some subs. You see E7, you play G sharp dim, or D dim, or B dim. You know, we want to sub out, especially on the dominant chords, especially again on the dominant chords. So that's one of my tricks for Jangology, is just kind of a demonstration. That's a very particular song. There's a lot of different methods. Then we could do the easy arpeggio method that I'm going to discuss about today. So just overall, as we're all just working on these songs in general, whether it's major key or minor key, face value, be able to just play through the tune, just triads, navigate through the song, choose songs that are comfortable, that don't have too many chord changes, that are at your level. Maybe after you've gone as maybe too many chord changes, that you want to focus on simpler songs like Sweet Georgia Brown, or where it's 4 bars per chord. So again, choose an appropriate song for your level. I am going to show you some tricks again, like today with Topsy, for example, or a Blue Drag, where there's some bass line movement. What do? Do you have to hit every chord? We're not going to dive too deep into it, but I'm just going to show you how I like to simplify. So again, choose appropriate songs, apply your triads, face value, learn all those little embellishments, lower neighbor. And we can review this today. We'll put on some minor key songs, of course, for this workshop. Upper neighbor, the Mona Lisa, whatever. You might say, oh, I really love the triplet one, the a la Django. And I demonstrated that in a major key there. Then, you can apply it to major, minor, diminish. It doesn't matter. And I know I've been passing out a lot of worksheets. You probably have a stack full right now as I'm giving you. But at least you can print them, or you can put them all in a PDF, folder, so that they're related to what we're studying, and you can always refer back to it when you go to Patreon or my sound slices and you practice along. Even if we don't hit every topic, which I might just grab a few little things from it, but at least you can study it further. Again, just applying arpeggio, some substitutions. I call them strategies or concepts when I start to sub out. And again, I relate when we get to what's the tune? Oh, Bossa Dorado is a good one. And I reviewed my list and I was like, where's Swing Jeton? That's actually one of my favorite minor key songs. So I might have to go back and give you a few exercises and go over that progression as well. Swing Jeton. If there's any questions related to last week's, what we covered, triads embellishment. Did you guys have some fun trying it out on Dark Eyes or any of the other tunes I recommended? Those are kind of just a little bit easier tunes, I guess you could say. They're 3 or 4 chords. That was the idea behind choosing those songs, where it's primarily based off of 1-4-5. Anniversary Song, I realize, goes to 2-5-1. Same as Noto Swing. There's a 2-5-1 progression that goes to the relative major. And we could even discuss that a little bit today as well, because again, a minor key song will definitely have some major chord movements, or dominant chords where it's not just all minor. So it's kind of a little formula almost sometimes in music in general. You'll notice that with Tears today, Django wrote a minor key section for the A section, and then the B section goes to the major key, the parallel major key, if you guys know that tune. And then, so again, there's often a formula to where it'll be a minor key section, even if it's a minor key song, but then the B section might go to a major key. In a jazz standard world, I'm thinking of My Funny Valentine, if you know that tune. That tune starts off in the minor key. My funny Valentine, sweet calming Valentine. Then, is your figure less than this? It goes happy, kind of makes your mouth a little. It goes to the major key, the relative major. And again, this all ties into the strategies, because if you don't know a tune, these are some things that you can kind of at least assume, or not assume, but guess. Does it go to the parallel key when it modulates? Because you can hear that it goes somewhere. Or does it go to the relative key? So parallel means the same root note. So if we started off on C minor, the B section might go to C major. And that's for the general, just like the big picture, the key change. And the song Tears by Django, it does that. It starts in C minor, it goes to C major. A song that was written by Cole Porter is I Love Paris. That starts off in the key of C minor, and then the B section goes to C major. So again, I want you to kind of know these common modulations, but also kind of hear it and can make some, educated assumptions again, educated guesses, like, oh, it's modulating, it's going to the relative or the parallel. So again, parallel stays on the same root note. If we start in C minor, love Paris in the springtime, that's a good song. And then later on, it goes to the major key, C major for the B section. It's like the same progression. And also Tears is like that as well. So I'm kind of thinking Django might have been inspired by that Cole Porter song. I have to look at the years and the dates to get that correct. But again, that's a common modulation scheme. Another modulation scheme, when a song starts in a minor key, is going to the relative major. So if the song is, Blue Skies is one of them that comes to the top of my mind, but if the song is in C minor again, and for the A section, the relative major would be E flat major, okay? So then you can think about going to E flat, the chords of E flat. C minor is relative to E flat major. So it's important for you to understand the differences between relative and parallel, the modulation scheme. If I said A minor, what's the relative major? You would say what? Alberto, is that C? Yeah, C major, good. A minor, C major, everybody? Yeah. If I said G major, what relative minor? You would say, yeah, good. I walk it down like this. Boom, 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 boom. But it's a minor third. It's 3 frets on your instrument. And always think of it this way. Minor is sad, it's down. Major is up. So if you're wondering, wait, what's that 3 fret trick? If I said C major, you go down 3, and that's A minor, okay? And of course, if you're in a minor key, and if I say, what's a relative major, you got to go up 3 frets. So if I said A flat minor, you'd go, or G sharp, many people will call it G sharp minor more commonly, you'd go up 3. You say, oh, that's B major, Okay, so that's the relative. And then it can get a little bit tricky. Obviously, I got to slow down when I'm saying, because I'll say parallel, relative. If I say parallel, that just means stay on the same root note. So that's fairly easy. If I said it's A minor, what's a parallel? It's A major. Okay, you just stay on the root note. But that's a modulation. That's quite a drastic difference. But that's very, very common. Pop songs, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, that does that. It's in the key of A minor for the verse, and then the chorus goes, I don't know why, nobody told me. That's the same modulation scheme as Django's Tears, and that's my little thing. If you've seen my YouTube videos, I always say, George Harrison might have been inspired by Django's Tears for his weeping guitar song, where it modulates the exact same scheme, almost the same kind of progression. So again, that's important to know the difference from parallel and relative for modulation, especially as we're really working on songs in minor keys. And of course, another common scheme is to modulate to the 4 chord for the B section. Minor swing for that second half kind of goes to the 4 chord, then it goes back to the 1. What's another tune? By Mere Beast to Shame, that starts off in the 1, then the B section goes to the 4 chord. So when that happens, what you usually do is you put the 1 chord will turn into dominant, and then that 1 as a dominant is now the 5 of the 4, and it pulls you to the 4. So these are all just little soloing tricks that I work on. How do I turn that 1 to dominant? What do? I usually will do some sort of diminished lick or line or harmonic minor. But again, by practicing these, you start to really, these movements, then you piece them together into the various songs. I know this is just kind of a little pep talk and some strategies here, but I think it's important to think about these type of things, the bigger picture versus just like 1 chord, to think about the schemes, where does it modulate? Because as you think more about the bigger picture, soloing just becomes a lot easier. You don't have to get caught up or hung up on those small details. Just like I'm going to show you today when we solo on a tune like Blue Drag or Topsy, where you have, you might have a bass line movement. Some people are like, well, what do I do on that dominant chord? I'm like, just think D minor. It's just all in the key of D minor. You're overthinking if you're trying to hit every little chord change, even though on the charts, you might see a lot of bass line movement. But again, you just want to see what's the general key. And that's how you'll hear people solo. Sure, they might outline and hit the little chord movement. I call that outlining, when you're actually playing the changes like that. But that's a lot of chords, that's a lot of movement. So you don't need to do that. And that's what I want to share when we look at Topsy or Blue Drag today, those 2 tunes. It's more the concepts, not the fine details, but just the bigger picture, so that when you're jamming with folks, you could just jump in and not get caught up on those small little details. And again, this is supposed to be an easy soloing class, so I'm not, even though I'm passing out just a few of my etudes, I'm more wanting to get you the strategies and concepts and some of the really important basic stuff, and then you can always go to my etudes and dive deeper into the fancier stuff, like I passed out Anniversary Song Etude number 1. That's got a lot more stuff. Or Douce Ambiance, they can get, or Dark Eyes, I think I did that too. But they start to get pretty notey, and that's definitely not necessary to get the flavor and to get the sound across. It's just how much technique do you want to display, and can you do? That's a lot of talking. I'm glad we have a longer session today. Any other comments, I guess, before we apply it to some other songs? So let's go ahead and maybe hit a couple of songs we did not do last week, just the backing track, and try out, a couple of these little embellishment ideas. We can go through the routine again. I mean, I don't want to go through the routine, to be honest, but I want to apply it to another song, not just on minor swing. But minor swing should be kind of the template for everybody. Okay. So how about this? Any requests on a particular song, minor key song that we did not cover last week, or even Dark Eyes or whatever? Just let me know. Things like that to train your ear to hear those modulations. That just makes soloing, when you don't have a chart, you can feel like you can just jump in and play along. You know what I mean? You want to be like, oh, I can't play that song because I don't have the chart. we want to get away from charts as much as quickly as possible. We don't want to be restricted to sheet music. I know it's safe to have the sheet music, but we want to get rid of it. So these songs, this first batch is really a good batch to go ahead and not use sheet music. Anniversary songs are a little bit longer, but you'll get used to it once you play it. And again, these will just be songs that you can keep referring back to. And on Patreon, I know many of you, if not all of you on Patreon, I have a lot of play-alongs. I'm actually now trying to do the full song so that you could play along with Django or Borelli, the whole song, and it's scrolling by. It's just a lead sheet. We don't necessarily care about all the note-for-note stuff. Well, some of you may, but you could just follow along and not get lost. And then get rid of it. Then just close your eyes and play. That's kind of like your training wheels. Chart for Swing 48, it's the G minor blues. That's a good one to start. Thank you for suggesting that to try out our routine from Gypsy Jazz Bootcamp day. I always call it day 1. We will apply those ideas as we'll just, again, make it a routine and go through Swing 48. And I'm just going to go to YouTube. I mean, that's just my quick and easy. I do want to say this, though, because you'll often hear me say, I really like iReal Pro. I do like iReal Pro, as I mentioned, because you can loop a particular section. And in this case, we don't really need to loop it. It's just a 12-bar blues in a minor key. So the blues is generally a 12-bar blues form. So we've got the one, we're in G minor, 4 bars. To the 4 chords, C minor. And I am playing 6 chords. Back to the 1. Here's a simplified version, the 5. And back to the 1. And then the 5 if you want to put the turnaround top. And that's a G minor blues. On Swing 48, because in the Django Fake book, I should look at this actually. Maybe you guys have it in front of you. E flat 7 to D7 is pretty common to G minor. Like this. It makes a great tag. So E flat 7 is the flat 6, and it's kind of contained within the harmonic minor scale. That's why it sounds good. And it's bluesy, but it's also a tritone sub for the secondary dominant, A7. Okay, E flat 7, D7, G minor. Just to show you that. And you can still do. And that was G harmonic minor. We talked about that last week. And then G minor. However, because of the melody for this song, I think Django was intending A flat 7 to D7 and then G minor. And that's called tritone substitution, when you sub out a dominant chord with another dominant chord, a tritone away. They actually share the 2 important notes, the 3rd and the 7th. Whether it's D7 or whether it's A flat 7. They just invert itself. On the D7 chord, you have the F sharp as the 3rd and the C as a flat 7. But on the A flat 7, the F sharp becomes the flat 7 and the C becomes a 3rd. So it doesn't matter. And if you put them collectively, depending on what the bass player is playing, it becomes a dominant 7 with a flat 5. So it's all good. It's very Django. That's the theory in a nutshell of the tritone sub. It just creates a dominant 7 with a flat 5 sound. But I'm going to show you some fun things to do with tritone subbing and improvising, especially if we visit my swing chaton materials, because that's when I like to use it. But I also use it on no-toe swing too, if we hit that one. Okay, so I've got the backing track loaded there. Oh, so basically what I was just saying though is just play D7. I didn't say it, but just think D7 instead of E flat or A flat. Just stay on the 5 chord there. You could do, remember that little trick we talked about last week, this. That's that half step above the 5 chord. So you'd be thinking D and E flat. That brings out that harmonic minor flavor anyway. So that's what I'd be doing on the D. Let's see, what kind of backing track do we have here? Theory right there on the different options on the dominant chord there, but you'll see different things, of course. I just say simplify it and just think D7 for 2 bars on measures 9 and 10. Then on 11 and 12 of the 12-bar blues, just go back to G minor. Keep it simple.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm just checking it out before I jump in. I just want to hear what their feel is. Try to say it to yourself. Top 1. That's 4 bars, 4 chord. 1. 5. 1. That's how easy it can be. I'm going to slow it down. It's a little bit fast for our studies right now. 4. 1. 5. I'm going to jump in here and start our little routine. Ready? Here we go. C minor. G minor. D. G minor. Lower neighbor. C minor. G minor. D coming up to 5. G minor. Upper neighbor. C minor. G minor. And D. And G minor. Mona Lisa. C minor. G minor. 5. A la Django. C minor. G minor. D. Next inversion. C minor. G minor. D. This is just targeting the chord tones only. And lower neighbor. C minor. G minor. D. And G minor. Ready? Upper neighbor. We need longer backing tracks. Well, I was talking for half of it there. But that's just kind of, again, a quick demonstration of the routine. Just getting used to doing that. It's good practice no matter what key you're in. I mean, hopefully you guys were looking at your charts there, but I was just kind of demonstrating the 12-bar blues. I wanted to fancy it up, but I was just kind of sticking with some of those, what I have written, even down to the rhythm of this one. I do want to share one thing that's not written on there. Maybe it is in my embellishment sheets, one of them. I know I use it quite a bit in my etudes. And on this upper neighbor is, and I might have talked about it last week, forgive me if I forgot. I had to review my video too. So what I'm doing here is putting a chromatic passing tone from the upper neighbor to the chord tone. And remember, the upper neighbor is just a minor triad above it. So you get this. C minor. G minor. On the D one, I generally don't do that. So I just wanted to play it, but I don't do it that way necessarily. It didn't sound bad, but I generally do a harmonic minor scale. So what I wanted to demonstrate was mainly for minor. Then I do it as a triplet. And again, that's the passing tone. So and then you can have a lot of fun. It starts to add some chromaticism. That's the main concept, is make it slippery, make it with the chromatic, like kind of has that slippery. And there I took it through the whole arpeggio, the whole. And there I played it also as a triplet. Da 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 da.